Hey guys, welcome back to another Spy Family Sunday. Today I'm here to talk about Spy Family chapter 107. This was a great chapter. It was a long chapter, and we finally focused back in on the Forger family, which is nice. So yeah, if you are new to the channel, please consider liking, subscribing, and leaving me a comment. I do like talking about these chapters with you guys afterwards. So this chapter starts off with Anya, Lloyd, and Yor. They're at some kind of annual winter festival. Lloyd is thinking to himself, it's nice for Anya to be able to get out and have some fun during her school break. So, Anya's sort of like, running around and she's excited about going to this festival, and Lloyd is thinking to himself, this would be a good opportunity for me to get some surveillance on Melinda, because Melinda works with the Lady Patriots and they organize things for veterans. I forgot what chapter that was, but it was a while ago that the Lady Patriots were mentioned. Lloyd is hoping that while they're here, they can run into Melinda. And Anya's thinking to herself, oh yeah, I completely forgot about the friendship scheme battle. And so we flash to a different scene, and it turns out there are a lot of families at this festival. So we see Ewan, Damien, and Emil, and they're accompanied by the butlers of their houses. So Damien is with Jeeves, and of course, Damien is like, oh, this is a festival for children, it's cold, I'm bored, let's go home. Jeeves reminds Damien, your mother works with the Lady Patriots. There's a good chance that she's here. And of course, Damien's looking around. He's like, oh, my mother's gonna be here. And Emil sort of makes fun of him. He's like, why would you want to be seen with your mother at a place like this? And, Damien sort of blushes. And he's like, oh, yeah, you have a point. And then they run into Anya. And Damien's like, what the heck are you doing here? This is not a place for peasants. And, of course, they're bickering back and forth. And Anya's like, oh, just, shut up, you dummies. Lloyd is thinking to himself, okay, well, you know what? This plan is actually working. And he sort of, chastises Anya. He's like, hey, watch your mouth. And so Anya's sort of teasing him, and she's like, here's the leaf you can have back that you loaned me last time. And Damien's like, what are you talking about? Don't just hand me garbage. Ewan and Emil have not really accepted the fact that Damien and Anya are friends. And I put that in quotation marks. I mean, they are friends, despite how much Damien resists their friends. And so it doesn't bother Anya. She's like, okay, you guys are his henchmen. It's fine. Two of the other household members come up and they're like, oh, we apologize for, the children, and they sort of scold the boys and, tell them to calm down. And so there's this friendly interaction between Lloyd and Jeeves. They're talking and bowing. He's like, on the behalf of, our charges, we want to apologize for their rude behavior and, all of the pleasantries that come in high society. Lloyd's like, oh yeah, it's no problem. Lloyd is thinking behind the scenes these are people that I might be able to get intel from, because he's constantly working. And so they continue through the festival, and then they run into Becky, her father, and her mother, which is cool because this is the first time we're seeing the Black Bell family all together. And it turns out that Becky's father's name is Byron. So that's pretty cool. We get a name for him. Lloyd is again exchanging pleasantries with him. Lloyd he's thinking to himself, he has no reason to be suspicious of the Black Bells. I mean, they do sell weapons of war, but there's nothing there that, raises a red flag, but, Lloyd is going to keep tabs on him anyway. And then, so Becky and Anya are catching up. Becky's looking up at Lloyd with hearts in her eyes because she loves herself some Lloyd. And then we run into another kid that's in Anya's class, Bill Watkins, and he's with his father, and it's just a running gag how big this kid is. I mean, he looks like a college student. It's hilarious. And so they run into each other. His father's like, classmates of yours? And he's like, that's right, daddy. And Anya and Lloyd are sort of just, looking on at what's happening. And, the wheels once again are turning for Lloyd. He's like, is this somebody that I can potentially get intel out of? Because Bill's father is in the military. So, I mean, that would be a good source of information. So he sort of just checks the box on that, puts it into inventory as somebody else that he can essentially get his claws into. All of the kids are having fun. We got Damien, we have Bill, we have Becky, Ewan, Emil, and it's interesting because a lot of Anya's classmates are there. And then we also get George. He shows up with his father, and Lloyd, he doesn't really see any sort of useful intel coming out of him. And Anya sort of sympathizes and pats him on the shoulder, and George is like, huh? Like, what? Why are you feeling sorry for me? There is a crowd that sort of gathers around Anya, a bunch of parents who are grateful to Anya for what she did during the Red Circus incident, with the school bus hijacking. And so they call her a hero, and Lloyd is sort of flabbergasted, and he's like, oh my god, there's so much potential here. But he doesn't realize how popular his daughter is. And so he's ecstatic about this, and some of the other parents are like, oh, is this your daughter? Like, can't believe she did that for us. Just thinking about what could have happened makes my heart race. And Lloyd says, oh, these are completely normal thoughts. And, if you ever need to make an appointment with me, I'm a doctor, you can. And so Dennis Glooman comes up to Jeeves to have a separate conversation with him. And he's asking if Desmond's parents are going to come to the festival. And Jeeves just says, my apologies, but, his father has a separate schedule and I can't really give you those details. And Lloyd is definitely listening to this. And so he's like, all right, I figured, he's not just going to give up that important information. All of the parents are mingling, all of the kids are mingling. There is a ring toss game in the middle of the festival, and Emil suggests that they play it. And Damien's like, a ring toss, why not? And so Damien's like, okay, girls, the rules are whoever loses at the ring toss has to leave the festival. And Becky's dad is like, my beautiful daughter is right. She's the star of the festival, not you. And so Becky is asking Yor, she's like, Master, can you show me how to, toss the rings? And Becky's father is like, why would you ask her? Like, I'm your father. And so all the kids are playing ring toss, and it's just a really nice moment between everybody. Anya sort of messes up and throws one of the rings at Damien's face, and it sort of like smashes his face in. And he has like bruises and stuff, and it is really nice to see the kids just having fun and interacting with each other. And Jeeves is sort of observing what's going on, and he's saying like, I think it's great, that the kids have these bonds, and that they, and that they have the privilege of going to the schools and forging these lasting friendships. And then Becky's mom says, I know that our Becky is enjoying her schooling now, and that's all thanks to Miss Anya. We don't get Becky's mom's name, but it is cool to see her and see her interact with Lloyd and Yor. And so he's watching all of this happen, and Jeeves is sort of lamenting to himself, and he's like, he's basically saying that he wishes that the kids could continue to know this lasting happiness, and that they are unburdened by the pressures of their families. And it's a really nice panel. I mean, Jeeves looks really genuine when he says that, because we all know what is going on in the Desmond household. For Damien to have fun, it really means a lot to Jeeves. Lloyd is sort of frowning, and it's kind of hard to tell what Lloyd is thinking, but he sort of just has a blank stare on his face, and he's looking at Anya having fun. I think the words that Jeeves said really resonates with him, because at the end of the day, like, despite all of the progression that has happened with this family, Lloyd is essentially using Anya and Yor to further his own goals. And so he sees how well-intentioned Jeeves is when it comes to Damien. And I think that's why he's looking a little, I wouldn't say depressed or anything, but he's looking a little like, it looks like he's considering his words greatly. And he's like, and yet I'm here. And he's thinking to himself, like, and yet I'm here doing all of this to try to stop a war, to try to get to Donovan. It flashes to Damien and Anya, and it looks like Damien has won. Anya's like, no, I lost. And Damien's like, the rules are the rules, now you have to go. And she starts crying, and so Damien decides to be nice, and he tells Anya that, she can stay. And Jeeves is like, that simply won't do. The eyes of the statesman has to be observant when it comes to the sake of the common folk. And Becky's dad is like, the common folk, question mark. And so Jeeves is like, I think a better alternative is just to, spend time with your friends, like here at the festival. And Damien's like, you don't get to decide that. And Becky suggests like, oh, look, Anya, look, it's the Hall of Clairvoyance. You want to try it? She goes on to say that they can tell if people are compatible with their lovers. And Damien's attention like sort of perks up, and his ear gets big in the panel. It's hilarious. Damien obviously does not want to participate in that, so it's Becky, Anya, and Yor, and they go in there. It looks like the person that works in the booth is called Luna Selena, and she's a fortune teller. And Yor's like, it doesn't look like anybody's in here. And then somebody sort of stumbles out of the back, and they're like, oh my, like, I might be a little sleep deprived. And the person, you can't see the person's face, it's covered. The person falls, and it's revealed revealed to be Melinda. And Yor's like, what? Melinda? And Melinda's like, Yor, is that you? And Anya just looks completely taken aback, and she's like, the war of friendship schemes? And that's when the chapter ends. So overall, it was a really cute chapter. I'm glad that the kids went out and had fun, and they seem to really be building on these relationships. But the meat of the chapter is definitely the end of the chapter. So I find it very interesting how last chapter people were sort of under suspicion that Donovan could read minds, but now that we see Melinda in a booth that's for clairvoyance, and clairvoyance means people that can read minds, and she's a fortune teller. So now I'm thinking, wait a minute now. Does everybody in this family, can they read minds? It has me very curious, because if we remember last chapter, Melinda looks so uncomfortable at that dinner. And was it Melinda reading Donovan's mind, or was it Donovan reading Melinda's mind, or were they reading each other's mind at the same time? I mean, the theories are going crazy, but specifically because Melinda is the fortune teller for the clairvoyance. Melinda is the fortune teller for the clairvoyance booth at this festival that she's working. And something else they have to point out is the fact that she says she was sleep deprived and she was about to pass out. Here's my theory. If Melinda can read minds, is it exhausting to her? You know what I'm saying? Like, she doesn't have the stamina to do it all of the time. And how many minds has she potentially read at this festival if she can read minds? This is amazing information, because I think I am so excited for this. So if Donovan can read minds, if Melinda can read minds, we all know that Anya can read minds. Who else has this power? Now, when it comes to Donovan being able to read minds, that is definitely still a theory, but it is a strong theory. With all of this coming out, this chapter about Melinda being a fortune teller, working this booth, and being exhausted from that, is some really strong evidence that she potentially has the power to do that as well. So, very excited. I cannot wait for the next chapter to see where this goes. Unfortunately, we do have a month break. There will not be another chapter update until November 24th. So we will be going into a dry spell. Let me know what you guys think of this chapter. I thought it was great. And until next time, remember to be awesome and stay true.